Welcome to the presentation. Now it begins. Every single time I do this presentation, it starts with this. I hope most of us know this is the video game Super Mario Brothers, and it's a really fun video game. But we're going to actually look at it from an education perspective right now. And I always start my presentation this way. So if we look at Super Mario Brothers, let's say Super Mario Brothers was a classroom. If Super Mario Brothers was a classroom, how would we grade our students? We look at right here, we see all these different parts of it. We grade them on points, right? Because we grade all our students on points. Now, a little bit of math. How many points can you get in Super Mario Brothers? Max.
999,999.
The 99999 thing. So that's the best score you could want in Mario. So we now know the best score you want as well. So that would be, like A++. Probably can we all guess that around 900,000 would be an A? So if a student was so awesome they got 900,000 points in Mario, they'd get an A. 800,000 points in Mario, they'd get a what? B. 700,000 C. We know how the grading goes. So I thought I'd show you one guy who plays Mario Brothers. Now it turns black intentionally because you'll notice the timer went from 341 to 6. He physically waited there until it goes down to 6 because Mario is a game that really emphasizes gamification. You get points for everything. Every guy you jump on, every coin you get, every block you break, you gain points. And in fact, the number of time, whatever number that is, you get 100 times that for your points. So he has to wait now. Obviously, he goes to 0 seconds. That's the worst seconds, and he gets only 100 points. Once again, timer fades. Now, I'm going to skip some because this is actually like 9 minutes long, and I don't want to watch Mario for 9 minutes. But I'm going to skip a little farther ahead. He beats more levels, and I have to show you. I always pause at this one part because it's the coolest dang thing in the world. Oh yeah, that's fast enough. Here we go. I'm really loud, I apologize. Oops. Now we're going to stop right here for a sec, because this is the coolest part of the whole video. All right, you're already getting the point that what does this guy want to do in the game?
Get through every level, not score.
Get through every level and not score. Now he's in a quandary here. He has how many points? He has 200. Now remember I told you anything you do in Mario gets you more points. Anything you do. Oh, again? Okay. Sorry. Anything you do in Mario gets you more points. And at this point is a quandary, because each of those coins is worth 100 points. So let's do math. We can do physics and regular math on this. If he gets both those coins, how many points does he get? He gets 200 points. Added to his score, he has 400 points. That doubles his score. Now, for a guy doing the lowest score possible, doubling his score is the worst thing that could happen to this guy. And physics actually dictates that any way Mario jumps over that thing, he has to grab both coins. So let's see what this guy does. Did you catch that? He waited directly till the last second when one guy jumps to land on the guy and get 100 points. So he can miss those coins. Now I'm going to say this right now. This is the lower weight. The same guy, 2 years later, actually managed to get 0 coins. And it's like a total secret hack. I don't even know how he did it, and that's why I didn't show you that video. Because it literally looks like he breaks the game. But he found a way to somehow jump a certain way and jump over and get 0. So he gets 200 points. So, obviously, this guy's awesome. Once again goes on 0. Now, I'm going to skip really far ahead. I mean, if you want to watch it, it's 9 minutes of this guy beating Mario. But by the end of it, you'll see he has 500 or so. He gets 600 points, and we'll just watch him beat the game. This is the last level, by the way. And that's the end of it. He beats all of Super Mario Brothers with 600 points. Now, for those who came in late, that might not make as much sense to us, but we just earlier, we said, how do you score Mario Brothers if it was a classroom? And we all said that, well, it's by the score. It's up there, and we said 900,000 points was an A, and 800,000 points was a B. So if we graded this, student in our class of Mario Brothers, what grade would we get? He'd get F minus. He'd get the lowest score possible. But does this student deserve an F in the class?
No.
Why not? I mean, he does. He doesn't get any points.
Outside the box.
Thought outside the box. Why else?
Because that's not what the goal is.
Well, we said the goal was 900,000 points because we have scores in classes. That's what we got to think about here. So I'm going to ask you to think today a lot and really break out of what your bubbles of what you assume education is. And that's what this is about. When we talk about the gamification of education, it is thinking outside the box of what education is. This guy, by the way, is the best Mario Brothers player in the world. There is no person that can do better than that. And when he did go better than that himself, he got 500 points. And he calculated, he says, I don't believe it's possible at all to get less than 500 points beating Mario, because you have to get points when you're at the end of the level. And he worked that hard. He's the best there is. But if we take it by our normal versions of what a class is, he fails it. That can happen in our classes to our students and all the places that we work with students, technology. We have to think that way. That maybe the students aren't following our rules. Maybe they're trying different rules. Maybe they have, as was said, it's Dave, correct? Maybe they have a different goal and objective than just the score in your class.
Wait, I'm confused. You said that the goal is 9,000 points, whatever, but he set his own goal for less points.
Correct.
So therefore he gets an A.
If we wanted to, we could. This is what we're going to think about today. So a few rules you're going to learn today about this presentation. Gamification of education is working towards the many different goals that our students have. It's the different way video games like this inspire students to work. But I'm going to say a few things also. I will be contradictory today. I'm contradictory because video games are contradictory. There are multiple types of video games, multiple types of objectives. They are not the same every time. When we talk about the gamification of education, no, I talk it as a general concept and different parts of it. The parts don't all work together. They work to customize the classes of the faculty, and they work at different parts. Take a bunch of the ideas and use it. Now, I asked people when they got here to take a poll, and if you didn't, I encourage you to take it now. At the main site for our thing, this was a flipped presentation. I have a lot of information about gamification and education, and I wanted some people to take a poll to just see where we are. So hold on, let me go to my tools and view the data. So if we looked at all our responses, and I did it in the fun way of view as a data. I just wanted to see a few things. So we see the people that have some knowledge is 9, heard of it 7. We're going to use that to talk about these different gamification concepts. And I see we have a very good separation between faculty and staff here. So we are encompassing all of education with this presentation. And for reference, this website of the main presentation, Gamification of Education, it's right here for us all to see. You can actually watch a lot of other presentations on it later. Gamifying education by extra credits is the best presentation there is to really get these concepts. But we're going to talk about concepts that we gain from video games and older education techniques that we can apply to Sakai, and we can really help improve students. Just think a little bit outside the box of what you've heard and know, like the guy who did Mario. So the first one I want to talk about a little bit, and we all are going to talk about it, is mastery-based learning. Now, if you've heard of mastery-based learning, and I'll kind of show my PowerPoint here that I have. If you hear about mastery-based learning, it's really this idea of progression and reaching further levels of mastery past the first one. And it actually comes from Bloom. If you know Bloom or you've heard of Bloom's taxonomy, if you actually read a lot about what Bloom wrote about, he didn't actually write as much about Bloom's taxonomy as he did something called mastery-based learning. There's a bunch of his information more on mastery-based learning. And it's this idea that with students, we need to make sure they reach farther levels of mastery in small increments instead of really grading them on what we grade them on. So for instance, like this video game Civilization 5, to go farther on the tech tree, to gain different abilities, you have to master the ability beforehand. You have to learn it. So if you want to be able to use pottery, you have to know agriculture. But if you want to know writing, you have to know pottery and agriculture and see how they meet up in certain parts. Now, his idea, biggest focus, is a shift in education that I'm trying to really get started, which is formative assessments versus summative assessments. Bloom in the 50s actually said that tests and quizzes should not be summative. And they should not be an end-of-the-way way to grade you. Instead, they should only be formative. In fact, tests and quizzes shouldn't be worth points at all. A test and quiz should let us know immediately what students don't understand the knowledge of the class and which students do understand the knowledge. And if they don't understand it, we now know who we can teach and tutor and remediate because they need it. And those who do know the knowledge, we will make expansion activities in the lesson to further education. And that was his mastery-based learning theory. And one thing about this he also believed is, you know what, we can't really make everyone, so content should progress normally, but even if content keeps progressing, those tests and quizzes, we should make sure those students don't go forward until they understood the material of the previous time. And we see it in video games all the time. In every video game, you can't go on to the next level until you pass the level beforehand. Every video game is like that. You cannot go on to the next level until you pass that level that you're supposed to be. And students will die multiple times doing this. Can I show you one picture? I use the biggest example all the time in this game right here, Super Meat Boy. Now, Super Meat Boy is one of my favorite games because you'll see like all these little guys in red. This game has a great way that every time you die, it keeps playing how many times and how you've died until you beat the level. So if you've died 20 times, it'll show 20 versions of you dying repeatedly until you beat it.
At each death?
At each death.
Okay.
So all at the same time, you're watching yourself die over and over again. But it's a great learning tool. Why do you think it's a great learning tool?
Death is a mistake.
It's good.
You learn from your mistakes.
You learn from your mistakes. You go, that gets me killed, don't do that. That makes me live, let's do that. So it makes you learn from your mistakes right there, and it's immediate feedback of a game. Well, we should consider applying the same type of thing to our classes in any way they can. Don't let them move forward in their classes until they've mastered the concept beforehand, and allow them multiple iterations to do that with quicker responses and quicker responses. Now, this is a class on Sakai, so I thought I'd open up courses and really show you guys that courses does this. We are allowed to do, as we know in courses, an infinite number of resubmissions. I'm encouraging more of that in classes. Encourage the infinite resubmissions of work. Now, another part of it that makes video games different than classes, though, is in Super Meat Boy. Let me just go to my. It's so funny, I got everything prepped and I totally forgot to actually go to my assignments tool. But if we click on an assignment, really, this is the slowest point you got on me? Good. Okay. So if you click on an assignment, we have Allow Resubmissions button, and we have Unlimited. We can let them repeat the assignments as many times as we want. Consider using that more because that's what their students are used to in games. They're used to losing over and over and over again until they get it. Yes?
Doesn't this assume that it assumes that there's a right answer and that learning is a linear stepwise process through a series of right answers?
We'll actually get into that in the next part. I'm going to go into that one next. So.
Might work for some STEM subjects, but
with the next one we talk about is student choice, and student choice answers that part. So that is the next part we're going into. By the way, remember when I'm saying that a lot of this is contradictory to itself, because this is one way to think about it. Gamification is in one way. But that is one way if you want to focus on the mastery-based learning approach. Allow infinite resubmissions to your assignments. And the more important part is make sure if you are an IT staff and you're teaching faculty, or you are faculty, it kind of hurts for us, but the quicker the iterations you can give them back assignments, the better. Because the quicker they get it back, the more they have a better chance of redoing it over and over. Super Meat Boy does it instantaneously. There are actually a lot of online education tools that help with, if you're writing even an essay, different spell checks, grammar checks. Tools like that are very useful, so that the teacher doesn't have to do as much of these iterations as they go along. So, now that we've talked a little bit this mastery-based learning and how it works and we know it, we're going to go to another technique as well, which answers the next question of Rich here. Well, what if that's not my type of class? What if I'm not a linear class where step-by-step mastery-based learning works? Well, we have another idea in theory here, too. We call this student agency. The other thing about video games that makes them so powerful is that students have many choices in them. There's not one choice in a video game. And in many of our classes, if you really want to get students engaged, give them choice. And Sakai actually have a lot of features that can allow them a choice in the world. Now you can see a video game here. Students get to choose how hard they want a game to be. It can be easy, medium, and my most fascinating thing is I like this. The last difficulty, what's with it? What do you see on that? What symbol does that look like? It's locked. You're not even allowed to do the hardest level until you beat the levels on normal. Which I always find interesting because in our classes we're always like, hey, you should try to do the hardest work. Here's this giant essay for you. No matter where you are in the class, go do this giant essay. Video games don't let you do that. Video games say, no, you have to have at least some level of being successful before you're allowed the privilege to do that higher thing. And that kind of goes to student choice. It actually is proven, and they've done a few studies in this, that if a teacher forces a video game in a class and says, we're going to play this video game, they are less likely to play it. Because no matter what, the teacher still told them that this is what you need to do. And whether it's a video game or not, it doesn't matter, they're being told what to do. Now I recall when I was young in my classes, there was always those computers in the back of the room with like Oregon Trail on it and all those old little games. And it was your privilege to play them. If at the end of the day you finished all your work and everything you got to play, man, you played on that computer all day and you wouldn't let go. Why? Because it was a privilege, it was a choice. It wasn't told. So we want to encourage student choice because video games have it all the time. In many video games, you get to choose which levels you want to go to. You can go back to levels, forward in levels. If once you've beaten it, you may go there. A lot of games are open world now. There are games like Oblivion and the Elder Scrolls series, or MMORPGs, the World of Warcrafts. There is no direct set direction to go in. You are welcome to go anywhere. You can go to the final level, at level 1. You will most likely die and repeatedly and fall back to the beginning and have to go there again, but nothing says you can't do it. So student choice in games. Now, student choice combined with that mastery-based learning creates a very interesting education experience that we really want to encourage people to follow. Because you'll notice no matter what, if we go back to the screen, each of the little places you go to have stars next to it. There's always a rule that goes to mastery-based learning, which is there always is at least a minimum level of competency a student must pass before they go on. And we want to encourage that in our classes too, no matter what class we have. We call that mastery-based learning. Bloom actually set it at 80%, not 70%. And he said, if anybody can get above an 80% on my assignments, they may go on and do the harder activities, the more challenging ideas. They may move on to the next unit. If they don't get an 80%, they have to go back and keep trying until they do. And even in video games nowadays, that's how they work. But there is at least always a level that they have to make. Now, we do this, we actually at this point want to talk about that a little bit more in the way points and achievements work, is that if there is these minimum levels they need, and if they want the choice to explore the class the way they want, one, how can we use Sakai to make that happen? And two, how can we make more students want to participate in this mode of the game? So if we look at Sakai, we already seen the first part of it, which is these points. Unlimited redos assignments are one way. Resubmissions are a great one. The second idea we have that is very important is achievements. And you can do achievements in your gradebook, you can do achievements in many ways. I, in my gradebook for this class, when it loads up, well, I'll talk about it if it doesn't load up. Ah, there we go. I have a badges area in here, because I believe that there should also be two different types of achievements in a game. Because once again, in Mario, not everybody wants points. The guy who did the best in the world only got 600 points. But there must be another way to show achievement. And sure enough, video games do this as well, and they do it very well. So if you look at video games, hard mode is a bonus. It's a reward. More than that, there are always achievements for doing more work. And I love this one the most. This is a mount in World of Warcraft. If you can look at it, it is a giant snake with, I don't even know what type of crazy mantle on it, and I think it's electrified. That is the coolest thing you can ride in the game. At least I think so. Now, that's an achievement you gain for doing well in the game. You get level 60, you get level 70, you get that. And I always show this because a lot of people go like, well, what you're basically saying is the best way to get students to achieve is like grade school where they throw out candies to students. Like, hey, if you do more, you get a candy. And then I reply, no, it's better. It's a virtual candy. It's not even real. And sure enough, I want to point out that to get that mount in World of Warcraft, somebody had to play for hundreds and hundreds of hours of a video game. They had to play a game for hundreds and hundreds of hours so they can log on to the game and ride that giant cool snake thing. Now, you don't even need candy anymore. We are way beyond candy. Virtual candy is the way to go. And that's what badges and achievements are. Badge systems. Rewards for doing amazing. Because the students want that. They want those rewards, and they do it as friendly competition with friends, and they do it because they want to perform the challenges. Now, Sakai, we can use that to reward them. We can track students with badges. We have their grades. We can make achievement badges for them in Sakai. And already I've done that. You just email the badges out as model assignments. So what I've done a lot of the times is in Sakai, at the end of an assignment, let's say it's a very large summative assignment, there are like feedback mechanisms and feedback you can attach a badge that they did it, and then you can keep track of their badges and their grades. If you want, create class pages where they can post up their badges and brag to the other students. Have forum discussions about how to unlock the badges. But give them achievements for success in whatever they do in a classroom. And I mean whatever they do. Mario Brothers, you got a point for jumping on a creature's head. You got points for grabbing a coin. In our classes and the way we want to implement things, the same type of motto should apply. For everything they do, there is a certain reward system. Points go always up. And this is something I'm working with Sakai on doing, and you can do it in the gradebook, because gradebook's all about points and lots of points. And what we want to really do with students in the future is we do not want students to be afraid of points. So the way I describe it is like this. Right now, a lot of students start classes in, I had this when I was in high school, maybe you guys did. The teacher goes like, you start this class with an A, and you have to keep the A. Now, of course, psychologically, the first assignment you get, if you don't get 100%, what happens to your score? It goes down. Video games don't do that. Video games do it the opposite way. In Mario, how many points do you start with? 0. Your points always go up. And because we have points in Sakai, and because we can attach rubrics to assignments in Sakai, now your students' points can always go up in your classes. So for every assignment, if you attach a rubric of how many points it is, you can do that with your gradebook function to show your students' points always going up. So now instead of saying, well, this assignment was worth 60 points and you only got 30, you failed, you now get to go, well, this assignment was worth 60 points, you got 30 points, that's great. You got 30 more points than if you didn't do the assignment. That's 30 more than if you didn't do it. And that gets those students who are not doing well and struggling to do better in the classes. And it's funny, actually, I tell 2 stories about this. One was new and one is my old favorite story. These points that go up become addicting to students, and students will always want more of them. There was a student, we implemented this in a high school on an online type of class where they were able to keep track of their score. And at the end of the class, the student had literally 150% of the class. Like they troubled the student, they made more than 100% needed, and the student had 150%. And teacher decides to go to the student on the final and says, you don't need to take the final. You have no need to take the final. You have 150%. You can get a 0 on it, and you still completely win the class. And the student goes, okay, but do I get more points if I take the final? She goes, of course, yeah, take the final. You get more points, but you don't need them. Give me the final. Give me that. That's what this gamification is about. At another school, and this was, I will say, I'll show you a really cool example in a college, but this one was at a high school. And because they did those achievement badges that they were giving out to the students began bragging to each other about their achievements. And I'll show you an achievement sheet next. But they began bragging to each other about their achievements, and they started to go to like the principal and the other faculty and be like, hey, principal, did you know I'm a level 20 wizard in my math class? It's awesome. And like they were bragging to the like school about that, and the principal was like, yeah. But no, but I want to show you this in your classes too that we can do, and this is why I opened my site of Gaming and Education. If we talk about these different ways of grading and different ideas and motivation in classes, I know I brought my documents along. Documents, okay. One of these I can show you is a class that made an achievement sheet based on Call of Duty. And if you go to documents, you can find it, you can download it. It's pretty much one of the coolest things I've seen a faculty member do. And they then put this online, they kept track of it online. But it was all these different badges they could get in the class. Now, these badges look like this because they wanted to give a physical sheet to students, but they kept track of it online, and they had all the achievements, like in the badges section of their gradebook. They made all the badges worth 1 point, and they just kept track of it there so students could see. But in achievement walkthrough, here's how you got badges in the class. Let me move it over more. Why am I looking at it like that? It's just... okay. I should have just downloaded it. All right, earning an A on a test gets them an A. Passing a test gets an A. Creating a book, writing a song gets you more points. Passing a test, participating. Everything they did got them achievements that they could brag about to the class and show to everybody and show that they got this. Consider these things in your classes to get them to be motivated to work in your classes more. So, all of this is gamification of education. Doing whatever it can to get students more motivated to work and think about it. Now, the reason I brought this all up in the beginning is I've now really gone to basics. I usually give a bigger presentation of this, but many of you seem to be aware of it and understand the things, and you're now on my website. So now that you're all there, if you go to the main page, there's a gaming and learning techniques database. All of these are from different teachers I've seen, different faculty, different staff. I didn't think of these ideas. I just showed the concept. We have 15 minutes now. And I said, you know what? I got a bunch of geniuses in this classroom. Like literally, we have the best staff and faculty about technology and education right in one room. We all should work on this together. So I want to have fun. This classroom here is half faculty, half staff. Everybody look to the person next to you, shake their hand and say hello, introduce yourself, get to meet them. Please, serious, I'm serious. Welcome to grade school style. All right.
Do I get points for that?
Okay, now if everybody will all introduce. Good. If every group, or every person if they want, but if every group can get one device logged on to the Gaming and Learning Techniques database, I would appreciate that now. Let's get every one device logged onto this database. It looks like this. Right here. And you'll see there are mastery-based learning techniques on one ways and student agency techniques on the other ways. Ways we can implement this in Sakai. In student agency, I'll give you an example. One of the best ways I've done student agency is like this badges initiative we have at Pepperdine University, and we have a whole initiative to give badges and things like that to students. But in the badges lessons, as was mentioned by, thank you, Rich, what if you didn't want to go in the right order? These are 5 separate badges of separate different disciplines you can gain a badge in to say you as a staff are a master of this type of technology. You don't have to choose which one you want to go to first. You can go to any of them. But if you complete those units and you get the information, you'll get the points. And Courses allows us online to let students navigate and explore the way they want to explore the class. There is no linear way. They can use online lessons and explore the class the way they want. And the teacher's role suddenly becomes a little more of a tutor to the students to help them explore their own paths. So student choice can take many ways, and Courses can help with it. And student choice and mastery-based learning can help with resubmissions and points and things like this. But I bet each of you has your own discipline. Each of you has your own ideas. So here's the mastery-based learning techniques board. Yes?
Oh, was that like a faculty orientation, or what were those badges?
It's actually for IT. Those are IT badges we are using to badge, like, pretty much we want to make sure IT have specialty areas. So we want to make sure IT know how to use Google itself and Microsoft Office. So, and then when they're talking to other faculty, they can say, this person's trained in Microsoft and Excel and different things. So they get badges for it. So everyone's on here. Hopefully by this point I've jogged your memories and I've made you think in master-based learning. We have 10 minutes. I want this to be populated with, yes? Okay. I want this to be populated with, oh, it's edited, I gotta edit. Ah, thank you. All right, so now you can edit my document. And each group, I want you to just talk for 5 minutes. And as you talk, start brainstorming what you think of here. Say, how could I use this in my class? What type of master-based learning technique could I do for my specific subject, for a different subject, or anything you want in your class, either mastery-based learning or student agency? How can you inspire students? So I want you to work with your partner and just start thinking and typing and brainstorming ideas. Put your ideas as a group in the student agency or the mastery-based learning box right here. And comments and notes are, if as you're talking you notice someone else putting something really interesting in there, add a comment to it or ways you can help each other. We are going to crowdsource gamification education right now and make it that much better than it ever was. And at the end of it, since we all have access to this document, you can bring it back to your schools and you can share it with them. And now the schools will have a crowdsourced, open source gamification of education database. So I know it's kind of quick in the start, but if you have 10 minutes, I think we should talk about it. And really the best way to think is just ask your partner, so what do you think a master-based learning technique is? Or what do you think a student agency technique is? And go from there and talk. Let's just all talk and start going on. Good luck. And if you need to raise your hands, I'm here to help. Let's do it.
A little different than the last.
No, I'm trying I've got it up. You can type it in.
And the one request is just make sure the line you're on is not a line someone else is using, so we're not writing over each other's comments.
Well, if you can allow but you can allow Yeah. You can't tell them what they're doing, so you have to make sure that when you do it, that is, you have to put their responsible. Instead of thinking that you're too far away. And whether or not it's but
I do hate to be a downer, and I love this conversation. By the way, this is going so much better than I ever dreamed of. Thank you all for participating. We could do this forever, but we only have 4 minutes left. So let's get another 1 or 2 minutes of some ideas down. I know you're all saying, like, no, if we keep doing this, welcome to my classes. But I want to kind of wrap it up. So I'll give you guys all 2 more minutes. Let's write down our last ideas, get a few good things down there, and then we'll all come back together. All right. If I can, I know this is like grade school style, but that's how I teach. So if everybody can get back, turn this way. Thank you very much. If everybody can, I see the back of a head.
I'm turning.
It's only even better because I know whose head it is. All right. Now, one thing I want to point out already is, yes?
Sorry, I just want to raise something. I want her to raise something
Oh.
that she just
Oh, sorry.
said.
Pass the buck.
One of our faculty members tried badging in their course. They did it outside Sakai through email, but the students didn't value the badges.
So one thing we talk about in badges and value, and we can get into this in achievements, is badges need to actually have some value inherent in them. If you just give badges for anything or completing a unit, it means nothing because that unit completion means nothing to the student. However, if you were to reward it for mastery of concepts that they can maybe use in some way, it's better. One way we use badges is like, if they get that Microsoft Office badge, we're certifying that Pepperdine IT says this person knows that. And if you tie that with something like Mozilla Fire Backpack or anything, they can put it literally on a LinkedIn profile and say, Pepperdine University certifies that I know this. So you might want to consider badges in those senses, where the badge literally states, no, this student is now, like you saw the ones for tutoring other students. This student knows enough of information to tutor other students in this. Well, now the badge in the class is like it's an honor. They are the ones that can tutor others. And they can even send that on things to say when you're writing a resume from like, a normal college student to the next is, no, I tutored students. I have a badge. This class certified. I tutored students. And now it has an attachment to the world to them. So badges alone don't do anything. And I agree with you. They have to have a purpose like that. But right now, before we go, we're actually running late already, but I want to take these 5 minutes to share. You've all just made this class, the 2.0 education world that I dream of, a reality. And I want to thank you all. That you can all give yourselves a round of applause for what you just did in 10 minutes. Because in just 10 minutes of crowdsourcing this class, that's all it took, we generated this many ideas. And that's only in mastery-based learning. In student agency, we have even more. These are all ideas we can use and take to our classes. Unlimited tests and quizzes, large question random pools we can have, using the pools and separating the pools into medium difficult questions for the different type of students to do them. And by the way, I will say this, it is very good to do that in your classes. If you have easy, medium, and hard questions, and you explicitly state there are easy, medium, and hard questions, and the students will love that. I had a math teacher who, actually I can show you it. The math teacher that was in my first agency and grading picture right here, on this lives test, they said right here on the thing, complete at least only one problem from each section. That's what you need. You must take one problem from each section, but you do not have to do all of them. You don't have to do all the problems. And you can still get a 70%. If you, of course, do more problems, you gain more. But now you give the students a choice. They don't feel a test they have to do everything. And you'll suddenly find students skipping questions and concentrating on what they understand than sometimes what they don't. So great ideas right there. And it just keeps going on. Faculty training with the Sakai, the levels, the pass-related mastery of specific tools. Badges for the levels of achievement. Great idea. Target numbers. Excellent. I like everything and every time someone says peer evaluation. And when I see this one, that was one of the coolest. Use peer review to allow other students to judge if someone deserved the badge. Now the class is involved in itself in the forums, determining who deserves what badge because of how they accomplished it. And by the way, this is what I talk about where I never thought of that ever, so props to the teachers who are thinking of these ideas, or the staff that are thinking of these ideas that I don't even know. And that's why I love presenting on this, because all of you know this so much better than I do. Rubric levels of competency to achieve mastery. Always make sure there are rubrics, always outline what they are with the points. And it just goes on. Oh, profile system in the workspace. I recall that was something we discussed yesterday. Use your profile system and upload badges to their profile so when they go from class to class. Okay. Oh, doesn't work that way?
No.
Time?
Saying we gotta
Yeah, okay.
empty the room.
Sorry, we have to empty the room. Long story short, student agency is the same way. Check out these tips. These are online for us all to use from now on. Thank you all so much for participating.
Very helpful.
Oh, and if you'd like to talk more at a later time about this, I have my cards here. You can take it and feel free to have more discussions with me, email me. I want to help others from now on get this done.
Great job.
Where are you going?
Hey, thank you for the, I hope at the end you realize that it is how it can fit your ideas as well.
Oh, I'm back in here. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. You're from Newport? Thank you.
Very good. Attendees.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
I actually do presentations to colleges about this, so if you want to talk to me about it, I'm happy to go to colleges and really get this going at them.
That was very cool.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Sorry for going there.
I spare you and go there.
I know I'm going to your presentation. It's at 1, right? Or 2. No, I'm going. Yeah. I'm happy to chat. Actually, I can say I have presentations for different schools on this, so if you want to come to your school.
I might talk to you about.
Cool. I've never been to Toronto, Canada, so.
Good to see you.
Thank you.